Oh, right. For this episode, I'm just going to be myself, and I'm gonna drop the act, and yeah, because as much as I enjoy all the shouting and swearing, and believe me, the next episode will have a lot of shouting and swearing because I can feel it bubbling up already. But today, I'd rather just be myself, talking about the things that I love, i.e. Slayer. I don't know if anybody knows this, but Slayer are playing in Black Fields in July, 5 years after their final tour. That was the last time I saw them in 2018, just before the pandemic. That was supposed to be their last gig over here, but no, they're back, and can't fault it. And I want to thank Andrew and Tracy, my friends, who bought me tickets as an early birthday present. You know, when they give it to me, when they gave them to me, I wanted to cry. But my mate, he's a soldier, and I don't think he'd take kindly to me crying over a couple of concert tickets. You know, but I want to thank you guys. It means so much, and I'm over the moon. I mean, this is the 5th time I'll be seeing Slayer live. Every time I've gone to see them, I've watched them with my friend Tina, and my friends Andrew and Tracy bought a ticket for me and Tina to be my carer since I've had my stroke. Because I've got to say, I want to go in the pit. I really do. I mean, I may not be able to last the whole duration of the concert, but there's 1 or 2 songs that I just got to get stuck in and get bashed around, because not being in the mosh pit at a Slayer gig is like having sex without an orgasm. Okay, that's the only way I can explain it. If anybody wants a point of reference, go onto YouTube, tap in Slayer mosh pit, and you'll see. Okay, it's a lot less dangerous than it looks, but it's still a buzz, and I'm trying to sort myself out in the hope that I could at least get in there for half of the concert, because there's nothing better than waking up the next day, your ears are ringing, covered in bruises, you're like, oh my god, and aching, but it's all part of the experience. I mean, I cannot go to a concert and just stand there with a beer watching. It's like pointless to me, especially with all the technology we got now and sound systems. You know, you got, YouTube, you can watch live concerts on there. If I go to a concert, I want to get sweaty, I want to bump around, and so yeah, I started going to the gym this week. Went on Monday and Wednesday. I'm going to go tomorrow. I'm doing 40 minutes on the bike, and the exercise isn't taxing. What is taxing is going into the shower, getting my stuff ready, and I'm forgetting things. I'm thinking I'm losing, and just it's a nightmare. But Slayer is worth going through that. I can't wait. Oh, now it's a band that has helped me through a lot of tough times growing up. I mean, from the ages of about 13 and 20, I was very into the heavy metal scene and punk scene. I mean, only recently somebody said to me, "Oh, I remember you used to sit down on the steps and you're into all your Bon Jovi and stuff." Whoa, dude! And I said, "No, I was never into Bon Jovi, mate. Sorry, okay, that wasn't me. I have never been into Bon Jovi. I just want to make that one thing perfectly clear, and I want to make that clear to anybody that's watching this. I've never liked Bon Jovi. Okay." I'm Slayer. Okay, just go on YouTube, tap in Slayer Rain in Blood, listen to that album, that's what I'm like. That sounds like how I used to feel on the inside. And it's great. It's an expression of anger and hate. And when I was younger, I had a lot of anger and I had a lot of hate. And it wasn't until I started listening to the kind of music that I could relate to that I started to become a better person. Okay, it didn't happen overnight, but it did help me, because, you know, when I was younger, you know, from about the age of 7 to the age of 13, a lot of bad shit went on. Okay, I mean, you know, I found the corpse of a loved one just after they'd offed themselves, and, you know, I found it, and then all of a sudden I had to go to school. 5 minutes later, I'm sat on the assembly floor having to sing, and I couldn't sing because I didn't want to cry, and the teacher's going, "Sing, boy, sing!" You know, and that's when, it's at that point where everything started to go wrong, because nothing was explained, and, yeah, children were seen and not heard, I guess. I mean, you know, as much as I love my dad and the things that I've said about my father, and this thing, it's like, yeah, he didn't help matters. He just left. And, you know, he left at a very important time of my life. And I remember him saying to me once, he said, "Son, what are you listening to? Why are you growing your hair and wearing all these t-shirts for? You know, you can still enjoy the music without dressing like that. I don't see the point, you know. You're not going to get a girlfriend dressed like that. And you certainly won't get a job when you're older. It looks ridiculous, all your hair is messy. But you're going bald as well. I don't know why you think." Yeah, you know. Which is shocking, actually, because my dad had jet black hair. He was dark-skinned. Me, I looked like a fucking potato. But, yeah, I remember saying to him once, I said, "Dad, this music gives me the courage to face the day. It gives me the courage to stand up to all the people that are making fun of me. Because, you know, people are making fun of me all the time, in public. People I don't even know will just like, 'Hey, look at you fat cunt. Ah, look a fatty.' Oh, I've had eggs thrown at me in public. And you'll be battered. I mean, absolutely fucking battered. And, yeah, you know, I wasn't a very nice kid either. But the music changed things for me. And I'm sure it does for other people in their teenage years. But with all that was going on in my life, Wham and Spandau Ballet, or all that music, mainstream crap, yeah, it didn't do anything for me. Okay, I needed something that related to all the horrible anger and frustration that I was feeling inside, and that's why I've always loved Slayer. I mean, the first album I ever bought was from Spillers Records. I know that Spillers Records is still going, but I'm talking about years ago when it was in the original Spillers Records down on the Hayes. And whenever I used to walk past there when I was with my mum, you always used to see people hanging around outside. They're always like, you know, either punk rockers, skinheads, or, you know, and they were always like colourful characters, and it was kind of scary because I used to walk past and look in the door and see people with mohawks in there, and they're just like, "Oh my God, what's all that in there, man? They look scary." And I was really intimidated, but I was always curious. And the first record I ever bought from Spillers Records was an album by a band called The Oppressed, who are a Cardiff band who are still going. I think the singer lives in Llanrumney, and they're still going, and they were a skinhead band, an anti-fascist skinhead band. Okay, I didn't know that at the time, because I didn't know what fascism was or anything like that, but I liked it because it was angry. You know, the heavy guitar and the shouting, and Some of the lyrics I could relate to, and it just, yeah. I remember buying the album. No, it wasn't an album. It was an EP. Fatal Blow, I think it was, and I remember the songs on there was White Flag, cover of Angels with Dirty Faces, Bad Man. I think it was. I loved it, and I always played it. And but then a friend of mine then introduced me. He lent me a tape of Metallica, Master of Puppets, which is another amazing album, which I want to get on vinyl when I can, because my sister bought me a little stereo for Christmas, and when I went, oh my God, this is wonderful, oh thank you. I said, do you know what the first album I was going to get? And then she handed me over another gift, and it was that. Slayer, Raining Blood, okay? Yeah. When I first heard this album, I was 13 years of age, and I went into Spillers, and I was there, and I was looking through the albums, and I pulled it out, just looked at the cover, and all of a sudden I heard a voice behind me give it, that's outstanding, that is, mate, that's outstanding. And I turned round, and there was this tall guy, long hair, with his girlfriend. She's wearing like a Misfits t-shirt, and he was, oh, that's outstanding, now you need to get that, mate, that's one of the best albums ever. So I felt intimidated, and I thought, well, to impress him, I'll just buy this album. And when I got home, I have to admit, I was disappointed. I was disappointed because during that time I had a Saturday job in one of the arcades in a card shop called Cards Plus, and the owner, if I made him cups of tea all day and just tugged at the cards, he gave me £7, and then I would just run up to Spillers. I think the albums were $5.99 back then, and I'd buy an album and take it home, and that was my first job. And at the time I wanted to get all the Metallica albums on vinyl. I had Master of Puppets, Ride the Lightning, but I wanted to get some of the other ones, Kill 'Em All, and there was picture discs. But anyway, I listened to the album and I was like, oh my God, because it was just like a wall of noise, and it was like an assault. It was like, oh my God, what the you know? And I was kind of disappointed. But then the next day, then I put it on again, and this time I read the lyrics, and then I got into it. And then, just over and over, because the lyrics are like horror lyrics. They're about horrible things, and the music complements the words. And it's like horror music. I like horror films. I like extreme things. Okay, I like extreme music, extreme movies. Because I can relate to it. It's what I enjoy. It was a problem when I was a teenager because I wasn't developed enough mentally to understand that it's just art. Okay, it's just art. But the music, especially Slayer, encouraged me to stand up for myself. And I have to admit, at one time, it was going to go a bit too far. Because when I was younger, when I was in school, I remember, I get humiliated by the gym teacher, not Rocco Richards, okay, who passed away recently. He was always lovely to me, but there was another gym teacher, and he used to pull me aside and say things like, I bet your mum and dad are just sat at home, eating loads of pies and chips, drinking beer, smoking fags, and they're just like, oh, well, I'm happy, and I bet you they ain't, and they don't care about you. I'm like, thinking, man, well, you know what, my dad drinks, he's always down the pub, and he smokes, but he works. Okay, he's a foreman in a butter factory, and he's also a roofer. My mum is a nurse. She works nights. Okay? So because he said that, it angered me, and I didn't like him, and I don't know what it was. Some people from back in Lanramie High School might be able to remember this, but you know, I'd be doing stuff, I'd get out of breath because I was overweight, but only now I find out that the reason I ate so much was because there were horrible things happening, and it was a comfort. Okay? But the gym teacher was horrible, and there was also a lad who was in the year above, I think it was the year above, or maybe 2 years above, who every time he'd see me, he'd just keep on punching me in the arm, just like every time, like that, I wouldn't say anything, oh, fatty, bang, bang, and it got to the point that my arms were just black and blue, and then I didn't want to go to gym class because I didn't want people seeing the bruises. I didn't want to do games because I was hurting, my arms were hurting, you know, and I just, you know, I remember at one point I was home, I couldn't even lift my arms up, it was, oh my God, and it was just, it was painful, but I took it, you know, just said, oh well, this is the way it is. And when I was younger, I bullied people, when I was really young, but I was a kid, okay, I can forgive myself because I was a kid, and I feel guilt. The people that I want to offend, and I want to piss off, and I want to get angry, are the people who, you know, are now grown men and are still bullying, still acting like they acted in the playground. Yeah, those cunts. They're the cunts I want to offend. You know, if I hope one day that I get better, and one of those cunts confronts me. It says, oh, I've been seeing what you've been saying on it, and I can just punch him. Okay, that's how I feel. Whether that would actually happen, I don't know. You know, I've mellowed out ever since I've stopped drinking and taking, you know, I've just totally mellowed out, and the one thing that has helped me get through it all is Slayer. I started going down the gym 3 years ago. I was very, very embarrassed of myself. I didn't want to go. I felt like I would have the piss taken out of me because of things that have happened in the past. So I just get on the bike and I get a tablet my friend gave me, and I listen to Slayer, Rain and Blood. The album's half an hour long. Just put it in. I just go on the bike for half an hour. And I'd be thinking about all the people that pissed me off. I'd be thinking about things in the past. I'd be thinking, you know, and it's got me through. I've lost a lot of weight. I was very healthy. The day that I had my stroke, I was the healthiest that I've ever been in my life. And I intend to get back to that level of fitness and well-being. It's just, it's going to take longer than I thought, unfortunately. But yeah, that's why they're important. That's why I've always kept them close to my heart, because they, made me feel better when I was younger. You know, it sounded like how I felt, and to blast it out and have people listening to it, and it's like, you know, fuck your Wham and your Spandau Ballet and your whatever the fuck. You know, just listen to this, get a load of this. I'm glad you don't like it. I'm glad you find it aggressive. I'm glad it's scary. I mean, at one point, you know, because of the way that I was behaving, this is before I was taken into a special school. There was a guy who knocked the house one day. He said that he had heard the music coming from the window, and he was a born again Christian, and he started explaining to my mother that the music I was listening to was gonna make me, you know, do something stupid to myself, or make me want to go out and hurt somebody. And I kind of said, it's like, no, it isn't. No, it isn't. Do you know what? People are going to make me do things like that. Other people. Not the music. The music stops me from wanting to go out and do something stupid, because I'm so fucking angry and frustrated at the world I just want to go to school and I want to learn. I want to learn, but people are fucking with me. The teachers are fucking me. The fucking grown adults are fucking with me. I'm going at home. My dad's not there because the fucking pub is more important. Oh yeah, you know, yeah, it's about being a man. Is it? No, a man looks after his fucking kids. Okay, a man provides for his kids. Alright? Fucking that's the problem with this country as well. Too many fucking men talking about how they're men, yet they don't make an effort with their own fucking children. And if their children don't turn out the way they want their children to turn out, then it's their fault. It's the child's fault. You know? That kind of shit. You know, I love you, Dad, okay? I don't mean to be horrible, but what the fuck? I'm just being honest. I mean, I remember my dad saying to me, he said, why'd you listen to this crap? I was like, Dad, because it makes me feel better, okay? It just makes me feel better. Leave me alone. Let me just like what I like. I'm a fucking kid, for Christ's sake. You know? But yeah, that music brought a lot of people together. I remember it made me. I mean, I remember when I was younger, I used to get bullied, made fun of, beaten up, and then we who got bullied would then bully other people. And I remember there was, you know, two lads that lived down the road who I know, you know, and everybody used to bully them, everybody used to pick on them. And I remember picking on one of them once. And I just went up to him and I went, oh yeah, and he just turned around and he went, yo, fucking come on then. And I could see in his face both fear and anger. And it frightened me. And I felt terrible. Because I kind of knew that he was going through a lot of bad stuff. His dad had gone. You know, and same with and this and that. And I felt awful. But later on in life, we became friends. And that's because of the music. Okay, I mean, you know, it brought us all together. And our teenage years, we spent a lot of time in each other's company and we met new friends. And I've got friends who I met through the music, through going to bogies, who I'm still friends with now. Lifelong friends. And the music brought us all together and we were all odds, we were all misfits, we all had issues, but the one thing that brought us all together was music. And yes, Slayer was one of those bands. But I remember, you know, I think there's an interview actually with the singer from Slayer, Tom Araya, and it's on one of the concert DVDs I got, and they say to him, so what's the average Slayer fan like? And he says, oh, the ugliest kid on the block. Yeah, that was me. I was definitely the ugliest kid on the block. Okay, and you know, when I got into the music and the bogey scene and all this and that, I was loving it, but I had so many issues that were embarrassing that I couldn't talk about, and you know, everybody else was losing their virginity, and I didn't like people getting close to me. And there was this one girl, well, there was these three girls, they called them the Scuzzy Girls, and they were all done up, you know, like they were into all the Motley Crue and stuff, and they had all the wild hair and sunglasses and the tight leather pants. And there was one who I was, oh my god, I met her on a week before, and we went and we all used to walk from town, and we slept over my mate's Gareth's house, and I was making them laugh. We were having a really good time. And then they left to go back home from the valleys. And I remember all week I was just like, oh my god, I'm in love with her. I was dreaming about her. And I said, but I was like, look at me. I'm 17 years of age. I'm fat as fuck. I got scruffy hair. I'm starting to go bald. I'm a virgin. I've never even kissed a woman before. I've lied about it, you know, when I was that age. And yeah, well, nothing's going to happen. But then the Saturday after that, I remember walking past the Great Western pub, because that's where everybody used to hang out. Used to go to the Great Western, and then under the bridge, going into Penarth Road, and Bogies was under there, which then turned into the Hippo Club. But it was Bogies, and I remember walking past one day, walking past the Great Western, and this girl, I think her name was Mushka or Mushka, so she come running out, she's like, Kev, Kev, Kev. And she, you going to Bogies? I'm like, yeah, I'm going to go in. She went, can I ask you something? I'm like, yeah. And she went, will you get off with me? And I went, oh no, I can't, because I got a girlfriend there. But she, I never thought you said you didn't have a girl. Oh yeah, I have, but she's not into the same music as me, and yeah, no, I can't. I went red and I fucked off. And then later on in the night, she was in there with another guy, and they were just proper necking off by the pool tables, and that was it for me. That was when I stopped going to Bogies, and the music just didn't do the same thing for me anymore. It just reminded me of my own hang-ups and incapabilities, which all stemmed from, you know, and yeah, and then I stopped going there, and eventually a year or two later I couldn't listen to the music anymore, because it just reminded me of that moment. And then I went mainstream, you know. I went mainstream, and it's base level, but people would say to me, oh Kev, you know, if you go to one of these clubs, you'll get laid, no problem. Loads of ugly blokes get laid in this, and yeah, you know, shaved my head, because I was going bald, shaved my head, started going to the mainstream clubs, and, you know, I've said it all in episode 4, which I had to re-upload recently. Don't piss on your chips. I give it all there, but the one band through the years that I always go to is Slayer, and now that I've sobered up and I've sorted myself out, and I've got away from all the negativity and the just stuff that brings me down, I've started to get back into the music again, and the movies, and you know, people say, oh, put away childish things. No, don't. Okay, if they bring you joy, don't. Embrace them. I'm telling you. Okay, put away childish things. Nah. I like the things that I like, and I like who I am now. I'm starting to really like who I am. I mean, okay, it's taken 50 years to get there, but I like it, and Slayer's a big part of me. So I recommend anybody here that has never heard Slayer or watched Slayer, I recommend you buy a ticket to go and see him July the 3rd, Blackweir Fields, and that's a proper rock concert. Okay, just do yourself a favour, just so you could say that you've been there, because it'll probably be the last time they ever play, because they're in their 60s now. But yeah, it's fantastic. I would play an excerpt on here, but yeah, I don't want to, because it might get copyright struck and all that, and I'm not well enough to keep on to do another episode. But the reason I like Slayer is because the thing I like about it is it's a lot of anger and a lot of hate has gone into creating the music. Okay? It's just art. It's just an expression of the darker side of life. And I like, whether it be paintings, music, movies, I like things that shine a light on the darker side of life. I mean, you know, when I was doing stand-up comedy, I'll admit I only ever went to a comedy club once before that. But I wanted to express the darkness, you know. And it was too much. It was too much for some people, understood. But even now with all the stuff that I talk about in these episodes, you know, I did the joke in episode 11 about the old man laying in the hospital bed and squirting bubbles into his drip feed. You know, that's the kind of stuff that I was doing when I was doing stand-up. And to me, I think it's harmless. Okay, as much as it's upset people, and I've said something about Welsh rugby and, you know, making fun of somebody that was horrible to me. I called him a sheep shagger, and, you know, even that's got somebody's... But it's like, look, I only ever fucked a sheep once, okay? And even then it wasn't intentional. I thought it was a poodle, okay? You know, like I say, magic mushrooms. No, that's not the truth. I always used to say that when I used to do comedy. Because if I'd done a gig in England, as soon as they heard my accent, somebody go, "Bah!" And you go, oh, right. So that was the joke that I would say, you know, just to react to it. And that's all these episodes are. They're a reaction to whatever anybody throws at me. And, I mean, you know, the stand-up, I used to do a bit at the end where I used to kill my gym teacher, the one who was humiliating me all the time. And it was horrible. And somebody even confronted me about it and said it was horrible. It's like, yeah, it's not real. Okay, it's not real. I mean, that was 20 years ago. But, yeah, the effect that this particular teacher had on me at a time when I was very vulnerable and a lot of horrible stuff was going on. I'm fucking 11. You're a grown man. You know, you're not supposed to knock me down. You're not supposed to humiliate me. You're supposed to lift me up and encourage me, not embarrass me. I mean, I don't know, it was different times, and maybe I look back sometimes because I've learned about the power of forgiveness, and I look back and I think maybe he was just trying to help. He could see that I was struggling with my weight, and back then, you know, sometimes you gotta be horrible, cruel to be kind and all that, but yeah, that don't always work. May work sometimes, but it don't always work. I'm glad the world is starting to realise that yeah, sometimes you gotta be cruel to be kind, but not all the time. Sometimes you need to be kind, okay, especially if you're an adult and you're dealing with children who have got fucking chaos going on in their lives. Okay, you don't dismiss them, you don't look down upon them, you don't ostracize them. You're supposed to help them, you know. But yeah, I just wanted to do this episode. I know it's not really coherent. The next episode, however, I've already kind of got planned, so it should be up within the next 10 days. And that's going to be another angry one. But I just wanted to do this one off the cuff, and I wanted to do it as a thank you to Andrew and Tracy. And I also want to thank Michael Hall, John Carter, Peter Evans. You've all just, you know, thank you for everything that you've done for me. And I will discuss, my friend Michael sent me a few gifts, and I want to discuss them. And when I do that, I'll drop the act and I'll just be myself, okay? Because yeah, I'm an alright person, really, okay? You know, I'm quite respectful, and like I said, the people that I'm upsetting are the people who in real life are just cunts. All right. Anyway, I'm going to try and leave you with a clip now of the bit that I used to do when I was doing stand-up comedy. It was in 2005 at the Chapter Arts Centre, where I killed my gym teacher. Okay, it's not for the easily offended, and it certainly isn't about Rocco Richards, because he was always good to me. Anyway, I hope to have the next episode up in about 7 to 10 days. And thank you for listening, folks. Take care. Peace and love to everyone. Bye.
Truth is, I've got to make this a success. It has to be a success, because there's no way I'm going to work for a living, man. I've done it all my life and I got fuck all, do you know what I mean? I mean, right now I got nothing. I own less than nothing, and you know what? For the first time in my life, I got a fucking smile on my face. So, you know, in there, can't do. It's got to be a success, you know. If not, I'm thinking about getting a job. I don't know, you know, a job where I'm going to get some satisfaction. I'm not talking about, you know, rat race satisfaction. You know, I couldn't give two fucks about keeping up with the Joneses, you know. I'm talking about, you know, some satisfaction of the heart. You know what I mean? Like a job where you go home and feel better about yourself, you know. Because, you know, my mum's a nurse and I like to work in a hospital. And, you know, I think it'd be good because then you can see people who hate and swap their fucking tubes around, you know what I mean? I look good in a white coat, do you know what I mean? You know? So like, hey, you're broken leg, yeah? Yeah, yeah. Oh, so wait there, you're that guy that shouted at me outside the yellow kangaroo name. Yeah, how is your wife? Did you make a come yet? See my special friend and give her a lobotomy reversal. Do you know what I mean? Best one though, I think, would be to go in and see my old ex-gym teacher laying out on his last legs, you know? I'll go in there and say, hey sir, you remember me? Remember I used to humiliate me? Yeah. Well, it's payback time now, you cocksucker, we're going for a run. I don't care if I'm getting trainers, you won't even know where I'm going, come on. Fuck the drink, move! Yeah, there's one thing you should remember if you're going to pick on little boys, okay? They grow up! Yeah. Come on, you can't breathe, can you? And just before you go to that big gymnasium in the sky, I want you to take comfort in the fact that I've been fucking your wife for the last 6 years. And you know that gym teacher of the year trophy? The one you won back in 1984? I got a video of the fucking her own pussy today. So you take care of yourself. And if that did offend anybody or made anybody feel comfortable, okay, just, you know, take comfort in the fact that there's nobody there, okay? You know, really just take the edge off. I mean, I'm a pacifist and I've just made me feel three people not feeling really good about myself. So, you know, a good, healthy sense of humour can be achieved if you grow up mentally and stop being a fucking plank. Anyway, I just want to say, folks, you've been lovely and thank you for listening. I hope we'll see you again.